How do you get the plans? Like maybe mystical things come, but if you're going to mystical, you're traveling to mystical conference and mystical place, it's still going to cost money. It's still going to be confusion to that midheaven. And then confusion to the mind of where's it going, who's planning, whatever. So it's difficult for him to make plans of what he's going to do for career for the next 4 years. He's expecting things to change fast, and that 4 years is going to be, it's not till 2024, 25. Where are we? Sorry, let's pick it up here. Saturn hits the descendant in 25. Okay, so it's not till 25 that Saturn gets above the horizon to the descendant. So this year, so there's not your effect. We see the Neptune puzzles, and we see Saturn this year opposing his Sun. It's as far away from his goals as he can be. He's as far away from what he wants to be doing as he can be. He's tired. He's like, they got time together, whatever, but he's still working too hard, and he's got restrictions, and his confidence is down. It's not up as much as it should be. Things are delayed. The message we say for Saturn opposing the Sun: bide your time. He has too much to lose to walk away. At the same time, it's not working the way he wants. He's not going to be able to force the issue. So maybe she's not working through the issue and it's depressing him and forcing these issues. But it's not time for him to change his job or try and do his own thing completely. He has to do it a little bit and add some extra time for himself. Get a night out, be studying, and he's doing the astrology. That's part of it. Maybe he adds something else, but he's got to keep in little ways some of his studying going and some of this new concern, working, adding some new things or hobbies and new things he can do. But there's still pressure, a lot of pressure over this year. The Saturn is almost a break to the confusion and the unlimited, let's go for this, of Neptune on the descendant. So he's saying, wow, this is going, that's too much. I can't deal with all that. And Saturn's saying, I'm too hard. So he's not in the most receptive mode. He's threatened by what's happening around and not exactly content. So this is right now, when you're coming to see you, you're going to walk into the Saturn opposition. So you're not a happy camper. You're feeling hemmed in. You're feeling restricted. You got too many commitments to walk up, but there's pressure. They can't keep going the way you have. What's happening? You ask that question. You say those few things. You're going to have them talk for the next 10, 15 minutes explaining what's happening. Then you're going to see, well, that was going on. Like this was building up. Like if we look at Saturn and we back up, Saturn was squaring the moon the last year. So his wife finishes school. Saturn's opposing his Mercury. She's finished her school. One pressure off, but there's still problems from family, kids, mom. There's still pressure. He's working hard. He's working hard. It's coming up to a point to Saturn opposes his Sun this year. So he's tired, and she may not be working yet. And it's going to be hard with him being that close to have the energy to say you have to do this or you have to do this. He's having trouble keeping up his end of it, and she may not be tuned into what he needs. She may not see what he needs on his terms. She may see what he needs to do on her terms. But in any case, it could be just a whole new mystical side comes in, that they both start traveling and doing mystical things, but it's still going to be struggles to pay for it. Neptune squaring the midheaven, complications around work. So he's as far away from you, wants to go as he can be. Now, the last time, well, we did this Saturn opposed the Sun. The 2 times of Saturn opposed the Sun was 2089, just before he met his wife, the year before he met his wife. And now, as they've brought their kids up, they've launched the kids. They're in university, they're launched. He still has some things to pay, but now this Neptune could also come from problems for one of the kids with the Neptune, and they're worrying about what to do with the kids, even though they're out. It's not a good idea to bring him back, and he can't carry so much anymore. It's got to change. After he made the 15-year investment in her going to school, hopefully her schooling pays off and she starts getting work and pulling him. If it does, that Neptune's a positive factor there. But right now, it looks like there's delays with the Saturn opposing the Sun. So in this case, I look back at Saturn for 2018, 2017. I look from now and then I look back. In 2016, Saturn hit the IC. That was the big turning point. I'll have to get some things for myself. And it took a couple of years. He's still waiting to get his own thing going. But he was motivated. He started astrology at the IC. And there may be other things too, but that has a profound effect for where he's going. Once he gets past this year, there's not Saturn problems. There's not Uranus problems. There's not Pluto. It's just it's like he and his wife are on different frequencies. Or they're either doing something together and he's not putting the brakes on anymore and they're going with it. Or he's doing something, they're just in different spaces. Can't tell from this by itself. But certainly this year is tied up with restrictions and dreams and beliefs and hopes and wishes, good intentions that aren't happening as fast as he wants them to happen. You know, and then some of those restrictions lift as he gets into 2020 and they don't come back, but he still has the Neptune factors coming along. So the planets are always somewhere. We always have Neptune somewhere. We always have Pluto somewhere. They're just not, this is when they're within a degree. This is critical timing. This is how you know the chart is working, because things are happening on the angles or within the degree, and it'll fit. You have to expect it to fit into this. So the right now, you know, Saturn opposed the Sun, the main issue is you got too much to lose, you're fed up, you got too much to bide your time, you're far away from your goals as you can. You can't force this. Add a few skills if you can, add something if you can, but bide your time and wait. This pressure is lifting in 2020, or even by late fall, by November, December. It's lifting across the spring and summer, but it hasn't gone away. And still the confusions and the dreams and the expectations, and his Neptune is tied to his Mars, what he's doing, and what he's getting out is tied to his wife, the values, what money needs, what they should be doing. So if they were traveling, wanting to travel and go places, it's going to be limited by how much she can afford right now, unless she finds other income to bring in. But you can see puzzles there. That's all. You don't know puzzle. You'd have to get into a session with him, talk about him, to talk about what he expects these things are, what's it looking at, and how do you moderate and not go so extreme, so that he still has some time, growing time, to build up on his own world. But his setting his own goal right now, when he's as far away from his goals as he can be, it's unlikely he's going to succeed that much at this. So these are the things they're concerned about. Looking at this, then this is your prep work. This is your prep work to know a chart, know the things going on. Now you're equipped. You see the puzzles, you see the potential problems, you see the background, you see how the big things have come and gone, you see the basic Saturn and where he's going, you see the direction. You have a good sense of the texture of his life. Now you talk to him, you ask some questions. What's happening here? Do you think this is there? What you're worried about, how you get along with your wife? Is she working? What's happening? What's she doing? And you want to find and then as the information comes in, the pieces to this puzzle will fit into place. They will, because life happens according to these planetary movements. This has happened. We would watch. That's the whole thing that we're watching. We're connected to life like this. This is our music. This is our dance. This is our genetic code. This is our DNA playing out. So something's not as it seems around the relationship and career, around work and relationship. What are we going to do now? Some new dream is coming in, and it's going to be difficult to live up to it exactly. And it may be a little bit more her vision than his vision. He still has to work to make sure he's getting some of his pieces of his vision, or he still has to. Well, this is the dialogue. He's living his life. He's going to decide it. But this is the pressure forcing this realization to come out. So everybody's different. You can't expect what you're going to say beforehand. It's not what I want to say that's important. I'm talking some of the things I'm seeing, how I'm seeing it from astrology, looking at it. When you think of the person, what they need to know, you come back to the natal chart. You see his basic tendencies, the strong life, the confusion, and the difficulty of the tendency to not be too ambitious or to be too dedicated, or to push for things and not get all the money he needs, or push for or want things more than he can get. You can see that confusion of fighting for the education for the kids, making sure his kids and his wife got education. That's a really positive outcome of that Venus, Neptune, Mars, 3rd, 9th house. That's a really positive use of a negative aspect. But that it had a confusing toll and a haunting toll on him. That's another thing. And that toll is coming up as the Neptune. See, Neptune squaring the mid. It's opposing the ascendant, squaring the midheaven. It's squaring his IC and his midheaven. So it's squaring what he wants to, but it's also confusing what he's initially motivated to do. It's changing his roots. which is going to affect him. And his nature, he'll be affected, he'll be challenged by something. Moon, Pluto, Jupiter, Uranus, and he'll have to break the old and start in the new, and there'll be a struggle with it. Spiritually, he's ready to open up and live a more spiritual life. And his circumstances are pointing to it. Whether he's able to do that or not, and how much he's able to do that, that's another puzzle. Okay, so how are we doing for time? Okay, we're just past our time. So this is about it. And we don't have time to do more, but that's a good run at it. We have a good sense of how to work at the chart, how to see it, and the information we see is valid. It's useful for this person to know. And as he sees these, he sees the music. He's doing a dance. He'll see what's working, what this complex is with that. He'll see these pieces very easily. In a lot of ways, his life's a lot easier than it has been for years. But there's a puzzle or some confusion in this easiness. Okay, so with the Neptune there, and then the Neptune hitting his Mercury, it may be difficult to be concentrating on getting the studying done when Neptune's hitting his Mercury. Certainly there'll be confusions around plans. Neptune and Mercury hitting Mercury is kind of like 2 steering wheels in 1 car, or 2 TV converters in 1 TV. You know, like it's puzzles. But anyways, you get wound up in this. After I do a chart, it takes me a few hours to come down and come out of that person's world just to come back to my own world and be ready for the next person. But this is a good use of how to interpret a chart and a good example. And we got next week's to do. Okay, let's see where we are. I don't know if I have it all ready yet. I'm probably just going to have it sent to you for next week. Let's see. Oh yeah, okay. So this is the chart. This is our chart for next week that we'll be doing next week. It's a ladies chart. And July 31st, 67. So this is the chart we're doing for next week. That you have to get everything. It's up to you, but I suggest you do the work. You get the points done. You do these things. You get into it. You make it real. Make it come alive for you. Then when it's alive for you, you're ready for the person. Sometimes you don't know what to say, but you see the challenge involved and you just have to talk about, I see the struggles like this. I don't know what it is. And you don't say you have to do this or have to do that. You ask questions and you figure out what's useful in this scenario. What would make things become worse? What would they make things go better? And in the process of life, better solutions come in. So we do the prep work and the theory. We're seeing the music. They're doing the dance. They're going to dance their way. So you're just trying to help them know which way the dance is going. So anyways, this is our chart, July 31st, 67, Wiesbaden, Germany, 10:28 a.m. And we'll be picking up with that one next week. Okay, and we'll just assume the consultation is for this January and see where it's going from here. Okay? Okay, thanks. I'll end it here and I'll see you next week. Okay, bye.